Hi everybody, I know it's been a long time since we've seen each other, but I was wondering if you remembered each other's names, how to read everybody's name. Let's start with this one. Whose name is this? Right, that's Mary. Let's see. Whose name is this? Logan, good job. Whose name is this? There's Yarny. Whose name is this? Edgar. Whose name is this? Sam. Whose name is this? There's Nolan. Whose name is this? Luna. Good job. Whose name is this? Sashini. Whose name is this? Audrey. Whose name is this? Max. And the last name, whose name is this? Y'all know who this is, Mrs. Coltrane. That's right. Good job. Our story today is The Dark, Dark Night. This is by M. Christina Butler and Jane Chapman. Frog was very excited. All winter he had been asleep under a stone, and now it was spring, and he was on his way back to the pond. On the way, he bumped into Badger and Hedgehog. Then he played Leaping Frog with Rabbit and Mouse. Suddenly, he saw that it was getting dark. So he borrowed a lantern from Mouse, and off he went through the woods to the pond. Ooh, ooh. The wind blew through the trees. Squeak, squeak went the lantern as it swung from side to side, and the dark was all around. When Frog reached his home, he put the lantern down behind him and was just about to jump in the water when he saw a huge black pond monster with enormous claws coming out of the weeds. Frog grabbed the lantern and hopped as fast as he could back through the woods. "There's a huge monster in the pond," he cried. "Are you sure?" laughed Hedgehog. Frog nodded, trembling. "All right," said Hedgehog calmly. "We'll have a look together." "And I'll come too," said Mouse. Off they went through the woods. Ooh, the wind blew in the trees. Squeak, squeak went the lantern. "Wait for me," cried Mouse, and the dark was all around. Soon Hedgehog and Frog reached the pond. "Now," said Hedgehog, "where's that monster?" "There it is!" cried Frog. "It was bigger than before, with enormous claws and terrible spikes down his back." "Run, run!" said Hedgehog. "Pond monster! Pond monster!" "What's all this?" chuckled Rabbit. "A monster?" "There's no such thing as monsters." "Come and see for yourself," said Hedgehog. "All right," said Rabbit, "I will." "I'll never swim in my pond again," sniffed Frog as they set off through the woods. Ooh, ooh, blew the wind through the trees. Squeak, squeak went the lanterns. "Wait for me," said Mouse, and the dark was all around. It wasn't long before they were back at the pond. Rabbit, Hedgehog, and Frog tiptoed in the water. There it was again, the pond monster. It was bigger than ever. It had enormous claws, terrible spikes down its back, 2 big horns, and wildly waving his arms. Look at that monster. Run for your life, yelled Rabbit, racing back through the woods with Hedgehog and Frog behind. What's going on? Said Badger. So they told him all about it. Come on, Badger said. I'd like to see this monster of yours. And off they went once more. Ooh, ooh, howled the wind. Squeak, squeak, went the lanterns. Wait for me, cried Mouse. And the dark was all around. As they reached the pond, a huge gust of wind came through the trees and blew out all the lanterns. I can't see a monster, said Badger at last. That's because it's too dark, whispered Frog. And there they all stood, waiting for the moon in the moonlight for something to happen. Just then, Mouse caught up with the others at last. Yoo-hoo, she shouted, waving from the bank. Badger, Rabbit, Hedgehog, and Frog looked at Mouse, and then they looked at a small black shape waving from the weeds. Look at that, said Hedgehog. That's not a pond monster, said Rabbit. That's Mouse's shadow, said Frog. I can't believe it, said Badger. You were running from your shadows every time. The 4 friends laughed and laughed. Hooray, cried Frog. There's no monster after all. And with a huge happy splash, they leapt into the lovely pond at last. The end. Let's look back at these pictures. This was the first picture that he said was the pond monster. Who does it look like? It looks like Frog, doesn't it? Let's look at the next one. Here's the pond monster. Here are Frog's arms, and look, that's Hedgehog back there behind him. That's not a monster, those silly guys. Here's the next one. There's the Frog. There's the Hedgehog. And look, the 2 long ears are Rabbit's ears. They are so silly. There was no pond monster. It was their shadow. The dark, dark night. The end. I love you. Have a great day.